Never interfere with another person's karma. If you feel pity for them and want to change or rescue them, your own destiny will become entangled with theirs, sometimes leaving behind serious consequences. Today, we're going to explore some fundamental principles you must remember if you don't want to interfere with another person's karma, unless you are truly prepared to carry all the consequences yourself. I understand, your life is very busy, and the things I'm about to share with you are not easy to absorb, let alone master. If you only listen once, it may pass you by. So my advice is, watch until the end. Listen again and again, whenever you have free time, even while doing housework. Save and share this playlist, it will be more convenient for you. And I promise, within just a few short months, your way of thinking will rise to an entirely new level. Imagine this, someone is about to fall off a cliff. You reach out to pull them back, but if they are determined to jump, you cannot change their decision. There is an old story about Bian Que Duke Huan of Qi. The first time Bian Que met the Duke, he told him, "Your illness is already severe. If you don't treat it in time, it will worsen." But Duke Huan replied that he wasn't sick at all, and even mocked physicians for liking to treat healthy people just to show off their skills. 10 days later, Bian Que saw the Duke again and warned him, "Your sickness has now spread to your flesh. If you don't treat it, it will become much worse." But the Duke still ignored him. 15 days later, Duke Huan passed away from that very illness. The lesson is this: each of us comes into this world to face and resolve our own problems. We may offer advice or support, but if the other person does not want to receive it, or doesn't even believe they have a problem, then all our efforts will only be a waste of time and energy. Even if it's someone close to us, our best friend, our sibling, or even our parents, we cannot force them to accept our help. Sometimes, only after a person has endured enough suffering, will they finally awaken on their own. The best we can do is to respect their choices. As the saying goes, the Dharma cannot be taught to someone who is not ready. The road cannot guide those who refuse to walk. Some people can only awaken through pain. Think of it this way. You may not be wealthy, but still, you borrow money just to help your friend. What happens? You end up trapped in a cycle with no way out. Each person carries their own field of energy, their own destiny. We should not interfere with another's life so casually. Every soul comes into this world with its own mission, its own tasks. If we take on someone else's karma, we not only drain our own energy, but we also lose our direction. You cannot wake up someone who is only pretending to sleep. Many people believe that only they can rescue others, only they can save someone. But such attempts often end in the opposite result. Not only does the other person fail to appreciate it, but you yourself may face even greater difficulties. So let each person live their life in their own way. Some eat quickly, some chew slowly, some spend their whole life chasing material wealth, while others push a cart just to explore the beauty of the world. We cannot impose our own standards on others, nor should we force them to change just to meet our expectations. Remember the story of the kind-hearted rich man who gave money to a beggar. Not every gesture of rescue leads to true salvation. Every day, a man gave a beggar 5 coins, but when he had a child, he reduced it to only 2 coins, so he could save money to buy milk for his son. The beggar became angry and resentful, questioning why the man would spend money on his child instead of giving it all to him. This is what we call the malice of the receiver. In psychology, there's a concept that explains, when we help someone too much, instead of being grateful, they unconsciously awaken resentment. Why? Because human nature always pursues equality, sometimes even superiority. That is why, in certain moments, even a family who has been fully taken care of can still give rise to hostility. You may wonder, why does this happen? It is like in Keigo Higashino's novel, Malice, where the killer says, "But I still hate you. Even though you were my best friend, even though you helped me achieve my dreams, I still hate you. I hate you because you fulfilled your dream before me. I hate you because your life was better than mine. And I hate myself because I wasn't lucky enough. So I poured all of that hatred onto you." When I first read those lines, I felt a chill down my spine. But this doesn't mean that when others are in difficulty, we should just stand aside and never help. Rather, if they don't ask, it's not always necessary to step in on our own. And if you have already helped someone in a big way, then to avoid creating pressure or imbalance, you should give them chances to help you back in small things. This maintains psychological balance between both sides. And remember, when you find it increasingly difficult to sympathize with others, it doesn't mean you've become cold-hearted. It often means you've begun to see more clearly. Are their struggles and suffering truly caused by external forces or by themselves? And do they really want to escape from their situation? Some people, in truth, only want to release emotions. They have no real intention of solving their problems. They come to you not for help, but for empathy, for someone to listen. That is why it's so important to let go of the urge to rescue others, respect their destiny, and abandoning the need to judge others that itself is a form of self-cultivation. There was once a mother who brought her young son onto a train. While everyone was sitting quietly, the boy kept shouting, calling out to his mother, and expressing delight at everything he saw outside the window. Annoyed, one passenger said, "Why can't you discipline your child properly? He's so noisy and disturbing." The mother apologized and gently explained, "My son was blind. He just had surgery. This is the first time he has ever seen the world." Hearing this, the entire train fell silent. Another story. A middle-aged woman passed away after her heart stopped while training at the gym. People around her speculated. Perhaps she overworked herself because she wanted to lose weight, to look better, or maybe she was broken-hearted. But the truth was this. She had been trying to lose weight in order to qualify for a liver transplant so she could save her daughter who was dying of cirrhosis. This world is full of pain you do not see. There is also the story of a young man tormented by the judgment of others. He climbed mountains and crossed rivers to meet a wise sage, hoping to find peace. But when he finally saw the sage, he was shocked. The sage lived in filth, in a place that looked like a rat's nest. The young man grew angry. "You're supposed to be the sage that everyone respects, yet you live in such a mess, worse than an animal." The sage did not get angry. He simply said, calmly, "Whether people respect me or not, I am still myself. Even if you call me worse than an animal, I am still myself." When you can live without being shaken by the judgment of others, then no one can hurt you anymore. That is when you are truly free. Freedom begins when you are no longer controlled by the opinions of others. But training this ability, it is never easy. Once, a journalist asked a farmer, "If you had 100 acres of land, would you be willing to donate it to the country?" The farmer replied, "Yes, of course." A journalist once asked a farmer, "If you had 1 million acres of land, would you be willing to donate it to the country?" The farmer replied, "Yes, of course." Then the journalist asked again, "If you had a cow, would you be willing to donate it?" This time, the farmer refused. Surprised, the journalist asked why. The farmer answered, "Because I truly do have one cow." This story reminds us that it is easy to remain calm when we are on the outside looking in. But when we are truly in the situation, keeping peace of mind is much harder. That's why we should never rush to judge others, because we do not know what they are enduring. Every person has a different level of endurance. Never use your imagination to measure another person's life. Each of us has unique experiences. What you have been through may not be understood by others, and what others suffer you may never truly comprehend. That is why no one should ever look down on anyone. Decades ago, there was a mother in the countryside. Her child suffered from an eye disease, but she could not afford the hospital fees, which amounted to tens of millions of dong. Someone advised her to ask for help online, and so she did. A netizen calling himself the rich young master appeared. He boasted that he never lacked money, often spending 1 or 2 million just to buy lipstick for his girlfriend. He offered the mother a condition. If she could kneel and bow every 3 steps from the hospital all the way to the stadium, he would donate 2 million. Desperate, the mother agreed. She did exactly as he asked. By the time she reached the stadium, it was late in the evening, but the man who promised never showed up. Broken, she cried silently in despair. And yet, because of her action, many kind-hearted people were moved. They collectively donated more than 20 million, enough for her child's treatment. The mother never blamed the man who broke his promise. But the online community condemned him harshly. His identity was exposed, and he himself admitted he felt sorrow, because although he thought he had found a way to help, he received no gratitude, only criticism. So, do you think he was right or wrong? If he had given her 2 million, compared to the hospital bill, it was almost nothing. But because of what he did, the mother was able to raise the full amount. Still, he had to carry the weight of a ruined reputation. This is an example of merit that doesn't necessarily belong to you. When you interfere with another person's destiny, you may also inherit the burden of their karma. And if you are not capable enough to handle it, you may not only fail to help, but also collapse under the weight of its consequences. A gentleman does not exploit the weak, but a true sage does not hesitate to do what is right. Everyone dreams of being a hero, but in truth, it is not so easy. So do not interfere recklessly in other people's lives. Do not entangle yourself in their karma, without thought. Do not meddle in their emotions, arguments, or marriages, for the consequences can be severe. If you help someone avoid their karmic retribution, then all the debts, all the entanglements, all the enemies that were supposed to find them, will instead fall onto you. Because they were meant to endure it, to balance their fate, and by shielding them, you take it upon yourself. This is why Guiguzi, the ancient sage, foresaw what would happen to his disciples Sun Bin and Pang Wan when they descended the mountain, but he did not intervene. Why? Because karma cannot be interfered with. He knew that if he stepped in, his own disciples might one day turn against him, blaming him instead. Whoever must face hardship, let them face it. Whoever must suffer, let them suffer. That is destiny's arrangement. We cannot interfere with the right of beings to experience their own suffering. During the time of Guangxu, in Shanghai, there was a man named Mr. Zhang, who worked at a foreign-owned store. One day, his boss sent him to collect a debt, and he returned with over 1,800 silver coins. On his way back, feeling thirsty, he stopped at a tea house, but when he reached the bank, he realized he had left the bag of silver behind. Panic set in. This was a huge amount of money. There were no cameras at that time. If someone took it, there would be no way to trace it. At the same tea house, there was another man, Mr. Li, a merchant struggling in business. That very afternoon, he had already bought a train ticket to return to his hometown after a series of failures. While waiting, he stopped by the tea house. As he sat down, he saw a small bag on the bench. Opening it, he was astonished it was filled with silver. His heart leaped with joy. But then he thought, this money isn't mine. If I take it, what will happen to the person who lost it? So he decided to wait at the tea house until the owner returned. Finally, a pale, frantic man rushed in. It was Mr. Zhang. Overjoyed to find his money, Mr. Zhang thanked Mr. Li profusely, even wanting to give him some of the silver. But Mr. Li declined. Unable to persuade him, Mr. Zhang instead invited Mr. Li to a banquet the next day as a gesture of gratitude. At the banquet, Mr. Li said with a smile, "Thank you, Mr. Zhang. Because you left your money behind, I missed my train yesterday, and if I had taken that train, I would have perished in the shipwreck that killed 23 people." There is a saying, goodness begets goodness. A good person will not be forsaken by heaven. Every act of kindness, in the end, returns to the one who gives it. There was once a man, a killer. But the way he worked was unusual. He never used a knife or a gun. Instead, he made his victims destroy themselves. He called it eliminating by uplifting. He would treat young women so well, raise them so high, and then let them crash down. In just 2 years, he dated 8 women, and all of them, in despair, chose to end their own lives. But one day, he met a girl, unlike the others. She was pure, innocent, like water. Her eyes shone with a brightness that came from deep within. For the first time, he loved. And for the first time, he wanted to quit. To wash his hands of blood and put an end to his old life. But fate was cruel. The girl discovered his secret. She left behind a farewell letter and then jumped off a cliff. Her red shoes fell from thousands of feet above. He collapsed in pain, crying uncontrollably, then hurled himself into the abyss. From afar, the girl looked back one last time. She dialed a number and whispered, "The mission is complete." I once read a saying, if you have hurt many people, the day you finally meet someone you deeply love, you will understand karma has come. Li Ka-shing once said, the greatest waste in life is to explain your experience to the young. 10,000 words cannot compare to one personal stumble. Tears teach us how to live. Regret makes us grow. And suffering is the best teacher of all. Every fall in life is a step we cannot skip. Don't cling to the illusion that you can save everyone. Respect their fate. In one village, the elders who lived past 90 all shared a common wisdom. They did not meddle in the affairs of others. If mud sinks deep, let it be. If a fish lies still, don't try to flip it over. A rotten log doesn't need to be carved into fine wood. To interfere with these things is to go against nature's laws. When you pity someone, you unconsciously take on their destiny. Imagine this. Your brother has 3 children. His family is struggling, and the kids must quit school. Out of compassion, you give him 50 million a year for 5 years straight. By the 6th year, when you stop, he doesn't thank you. He only wonders why you, a wealthy person, have suddenly become stingy. Everyone must face and solve their own problems. Even if we advise or help, if they don't recognize their own responsibility, they may not be grateful. In fact, they may even blame us. Humans are strange. You may forgive them, but they may never forgive you. There are people you should never befriend, people you should never have met at all. Take the true and horrifying story of Wang Diam. At first, she thought she had found love. She adored her husband wholeheartedly. Then she discovered his past, 12 years in prison for robbery. She forgave him. That was her blindness. Not because people with a criminal record cannot change, but because he lied. And deception is unforgivable. That choice nearly cost her life. Even when she was hospitalized in Thailand, the man still tried to harm her. Imagine the despair, the helplessness she felt. So remember this. Respect the fate of others. Their suffering is theirs to carry. Don't take it on for them. When you pity someone, you carry their destiny. When you sympathize too much, you drag along their entire life. Don't pity anyone except children. Adults must take responsibility for their own actions. The truth is, those we call pitiful often have something within them that is also blameworthy. Many fail to realize that their struggles today are the result of their past choices. History reminds us of this too. During the spring and autumn period, King Gujian of Yue ignored the advice of his ministers and waged war against Wu. He was defeated, captured, and forced into slavery. In his darkest moment, he turned to Fan Li, who cast an oracle using the I Ching. The result was Daguo, which meant success would come. Gujian was overjoyed, convinced his fate would turn. But Fan Li warned him, success is only the result. The condition is endurance. Hardship is the root. Da means firmness, strength. Lao means gentleness, patience. Gujian had strength but not patience. Learning from this, he endured suffering, learned humility, and eventually rose to power. The story shows, knowing your destiny is bright is not enough. The process cannot be skipped. And yet many people hear a fortune teller say, "You will be lucky," and then they wait. They do nothing, and nothing changes. Do not put blind faith in fortune telling. 90% of fortune tellers today are frauds. And even if you meet a true one, does it actually help? There are two kinds of fortune telling, true and false. If it's false, it's useless. If it's true, then two possibilities remain. First, if the result is good, you are already good. No need to ask. Second, if the result is bad, then it's even worse, because they will frighten you into spending money to fix it. By hearing negative predictions, you may invite negativity into your life. It's like the story of two patients, one with cancer, one without. Their test results were mixed up. The one with cancer lived, while the healthy one died simply because of mindset. A negative belief attracts misfortune. You may think fate is punishing you, but in truth, you've pulled yourself into that destiny. So don't waste your spirit on fortune tellers. It robs you of peace and shadows your life. And above all, never interfere with the karma of others.